Hi, everyone, for government this summer 2020, POLS 1113400046, and there'll be some other classes that will start to take this class later on in July, and you might want to watch some of these recordings as well. Again, I call this Points to Ponder. It's just some brief descriptions and discussions about particular chapters. So we've covered chapter 1, bring up a point from chapter 2, dealing with the creation of the U.S. Constitution, and also tied in to issues that we can see in our country right now. So in chapter 2, I would think that you've all seen some of them when we also talked about this in chapter 1, but looking at the instability in our country right now, and you can in many ways tie it back to a question that was debated during the creation of the U.S. Constitution, and that was the question of slavery. And you can read about it on pages 52 and 53, and the aftermath of slavery. And a question for us to ponder: are we still dealing with the issues of slavery, the aftermath of slavery? So you can see here on those pages, there's a description of the 3/5 compromise. And this was the conclusion that was reached among the framers, as they're referred to, the delegates at the Constitutional Convention, that slaves would be counted as 3/5 of a person. There was a key area of the country where most of the slaves were located, 5 states as described there in your text. And so those 5 states out of the 12 that were there at the Constitutional Convention makes a key voting bloc. And these are very wealthy individuals. To own other human beings at the time of the Constitutional Convention meant that you had the most valuable property. Human beings were the most valuable property at the time of the Constitutional Convention. You do see that you had a delegate from Pennsylvania named James Wilson, who had a major point of contention about the 3/5 compromise. Either a human being is property or a human being is a citizen. There can't be a case in which to count the slave as property to also mean to count the slave as a citizen in some way, which was what was the outcome of 3/5 compromise. And so we can see here that it's sowing the seeds of discontent. But we're reminded that when you hear the discussion about the Civil War, that it was something other than slavery. Again, if this property is so valuable, then we can see that it's going to be an issue raised among those who own that property, that they don't want to give it up, and that they have found some sort of conclusion that it's in the best interest to maintain slavery. This is a quote from Alexander Stephens, who was the vice president of the Confederacy. And I think if you read this quote, look it over, you can get the sense that slavery was a very important issue to him, and it was worth fighting the war. And it then is clearly a major issue, if not the key issue of the Civil War. And really, I think we can conclude that it was the key issue. It was an extremely bloody war. We just have had no war like this. So over 600,000 dead during the Civil War. And all those years later, where are we now? From Al Jazeera News, you can see this comparison on just one factor, that we see a difference between white and black America. And of course, I bring up this issue because this has certainly been in the news quite some time now. The differences there between Black and white America and the interactions with the police. So is there an answer? One answer that's brought about, and you can certainly read about it, you might find interest to Google reparations, and you can see that this is a system of redress for egregious injustices. And they're not foreign to the United States. After all, this has been done for Native Americans. This has been done for Americans of Japanese descent. And so should it be done for people whose ancestry is connected to slavery, that their ancestors were slaves? Would this make an important resolution for the United States? So again, something that's worth looking over and considering, and a possibility of a way to help us settle some of the racial unrest and injustices that we still see here in the United States. So that's the point to ponder for this chapter, chapter 2. And I'll have some other issues to discuss in the days and weeks to come.